I think we're going to go ahead and get started. So good evening, everybody, and welcome to this Nutrition and Health and Dietetics webinar for Kansas State University. We're really glad that you're here and able to join us. We do have plans for the next little bit to visit with you about these 2-degree programs offered online by Kansas State University. Our next slide is going to show you who is in attendance here, and we'll be presenting this particular information. I'm Jennifer Fortmiller, and I'm the admissions and enrollment coach for K-State Online. And I've worked with a few of you already through emails or through phone calls about your interest in our online nutrition and health and dietetics programs. And joining me here tonight, we've got Heidi Oberreiter. She's the didactic program director for our K-State dietetics program. And she'll be presenting a lot of the information about the dietetics program and our nutrition and health degree program. And then your other teammates that are part of this would be the academic advisors. So with us, we've got Carla Gerard and Jacob Fleming. They are the online advisors for the dietetics program. And then Ashley Blake is the online advisor for nutrition and health. And so we're all part of your team. We're here to help answer any questions that you may have, explain what the program details are. But please, at any point in time, if you have questions, feel free to put them in the Q&A section down at the bottom of your Zoom screen. And if you look down there, I think you can see the Q&A. You can ask your questions either with your name or anonymously. We will either try to answer them in that section or that box if we can, or we may mark them so that we'll answer them later on when we get to a place at the end where we can take some more questions. So feel free at any point in time, put your questions in there and we'll be happy to help answer them. The next screen is going to show us kind of what the agenda is for tonight. We're going to spend about 30, maybe 45 minutes presenting the information about our program. And then we'll leave about 10 to 15 minutes to answer those questions live or be able to address the things that you have put in the Q&A section. And so we do want to kind of get to know the audience and see a little bit about everybody here. So if you don't mind, we're going to launch a poll and we're going to ask, where are you from? And you can just type in there your state, location, whatever you like, just to get a feel for where people are from attending this particular webinar. So if you don't mind taking a little bit of time and answering that question so that we kind of get an idea. We tend to have a lot of students from all over the United States, so it's nice to see kind of where they're from today. And then we've got another poll. We are kind of interested in the breakdown of the degrees and which one you're particularly interested in. So we'd like to know which degree interests you the most. Are you interested in the dietetics degree program or the nutrition and health program? Or you can even mark undecided. If you're not quite sure, this is a great webinar to help figure out which pathway might be the best for you. And so we'll have you go ahead and mark that particular question as well and see where everybody kind of stands for that particular degree interest. And then I do want to say we are going to be recording this webinar. It does take us about 7 to 10 business days to get it posted, but we will be posting it to a YouTube link. And we'll be emailing that out. So we would be happy to share that with you, anybody who's attended or anybody who's registered for this event. We'll be sending that YouTube link out so that you can watch the parts again. Sometimes there's a lot of information to present. So sometimes it's easier to go back and review it at another time. So that recording will be coming 7 to 10 business days. I know it seems like a long time, but we will have that out there for you. So I think without any further ado, we will turn it over to Heidi Oberreiter, and she will get this kicked off about all the information related to our 2 online degree programs. Heidi, take it away.
Okay, I need to get that poll out of my way. Okay, so it's so exciting. I'm so excited to be here with you guys tonight. And I know that most of you are here because you're passionate about food, you're passionate about healthy eating habits. And so you've come to the right place because K-State has multiple degrees that can help you reach your goal to find a career that is based or focused on nutrition. And this is a 30,000-foot view of the online nutrition degrees here at K-State. So the degrees here at K-State are housed in the College of Health and Human Sciences. and within the Department of Food, Nutrition, Dietetics, and Health. And then that our department, we call it F&DH, partners with K-State Global Campus to make 3 of our degrees available online. So the 3 that you see in the red box, which is the BS with a nutrition and health emphasis, the BS with a dietetics emphasis, and then our master's degree are all available in that online format. So this is partly why we put this presentation together a few years back. Of course, we've updated it since then, but to help students figure out, okay, which is best for me going forward. Our department does have a doctoral degree, but that's not offered in the online format. So again, a lot of students come and they're like, well, isn't nutrition and dietetics the same thing? And so that's when they realize there's 2 different degrees. And then the question comes out as to how do I choose between those 2? The most important thing to realize is the BS in dietetics is the one you need to do if you're seeking to become a dietitian, if you want to earn that RDN credential. Now, there is a way to do that through the BS in Nutrition and Health, but that is that's kind of a new route, and it's not the clearest route for most people. But when you start talking to your advisors here, we can pin some of that down. So really at K-State, the BS in Dietetics is the best pathway if you're seeking to become a dietitian. And that really makes you stop and think, well, what really is the difference between a nutritionist and a dietitian? This quote really says it all. All dietitians are nutritionists, but not all nutritionists are dietitians. I really like to say that dietitians are a subset of nutritionists. So let me tell you a little bit more. So on this slide, you see on the left-hand side is nutritionist and on the right-hand side is dietitian. And technically, there is no legal definition for the word nutritionist. So what that means is you can read a book in nutrition and call yourself a nutritionist legally. And I'm sure all of you have been out on the internet getting nutrition advice all over in the social media. And those people call themselves a nutritionist and may have no background at all. Now, some of them have background, but you don't know that. So it's kind of the consumer has to be careful when they're getting advice from a nutritionist and find out what is their true background. So nutritionists are people, and I consider people that get our 4-year degree, that's a BS in nutrition health, to be a nutritionist. They have gone to 4 years of school. They are just as much a nutrition expert as dietitians. They just can't go on and do some of the extra stuff that dietitians can do. But nutritionists mostly focus on nutrition education. So they learn about what healthy nutrition looks like, what healthy eating looks like, and strategies to help eat healthy. And that's really what they focus on. The dietitian, on the other hand, does that, but goes beyond. Dietetics, or the RDN credential, is a nationally recognized medical credential. So it is part of the healthcare system. And like I said, we do nutrition education. I happen to be a dietitian. I've been one for lots of years. But we also do what's called medical nutrition therapy. And that's when we're working with clients one-on-one to diagnose what the issue is from a nutrition standpoint so that we can help them manage a disease state. We also work on prevention, but MNT, or medical nutrition therapy, is specific to dietetics. And also, dietitians can receive insurance reimbursement. So we can charge and put our claims through health insurance, just like doctors and nursing can. Nutritionists cannot do that. So let's go back to this. This is that question about which one do I want to do? And the BS in Dietetics is the degree you're going to want to do if you want to earn that RDN credential. So when I'm thinking about that nutritionist versus dietitian, the best way to decide is looking at what do I want to do in my career on a day-to-day. When I get up and go to work every day, what is it I want to do? What setting do I want to work in? And what daily responsibilities do I want to have? And then the second thing to consider is what are the academic degree requirements to get to that credential. So I'm going to give you some information about that. On this slide, you see all kinds of work settings. And interestingly enough, both nutritionists and dietitians can be found working in most of these settings. So what really differs about what their role is within those various settings is the daily responsibility. Again, nutritionists do nutrition education, whereas the dietitians are qualified to do one-on-one medical nutrition therapy and to receive insurance reimbursement. So whether it's long-term care facilities, hospitals, sports teams, whether it's collegiate or pro sports team, K through 12 schools, dietitians and nutritionists are available in all positions are available in all those settings, but it comes down to what you get to do day to day. And you want to remember, if you want to do one-on-one medical nutrition therapy, you want to take information from a person, help analyze whether their diet is right or wrong, and then make a nutrition prescription, you really need to become a dietitian and earn that RDN credential. So again, here is your two choices. You have the BS in Nutrition and Health and the BS in Dietetics. You want to keep remembering that we can work in both settings, but it comes down to the role and responsibilities you can do. Dietetics is the one that you can bill for health insurance, and you can work in all these different settings. And what's interesting about dietetics is you can specialize. The RDN credential makes you eligible to choose any of those specialties, and some of them have specialty credentials you can get, and others the specialty comes from the work experience that you have. So we're in sports nutrition, pediatrics, oncology, geriatrics, and gastrointestinal medicine, informatics. We do management of food systems, and we're actually getting very strong representation in sustainability issues when we're talking about food waste and those kind of things. So all kinds of things you can do really with both degrees. Again, it just comes down to, do you want to do one-on-one medical nutrition therapy? And that's when that credential comes in. So let's look at those academic requirements. You'll see the BS in Nutrition and Health in the middle and BS in Dietetics in the far right. And the first row indicates the GPA that you have to have to graduate with that degree. So you'll notice the Dietetics GPA requirement is 3.0, whereas the Nutrition and Health is 2.0. And then the next row talks about the grade you have to get in the sciences and the professional courses. Professional meaning the nutrition specific courses. So you need to get a B or better for dietetics and a C or better in nutrition and health. Then you'll notice the last three rows in this table is about what you do after you graduate. You'll notice with nutrition and health, there's nothing there, because after you graduate, you can go right into the workforce. Whereas with dietetics, there's a few extra steps for you to go through. Namely, that is a 1,000-hour supervised practice program and get a master's degree. Now, some of you may already have a master's degree and you're changing careers, so you're coming here to get the BS in Dietetics. You already have your master's. Then all you need to do is that 1,000-hour supervised practice program. Those programs do cost money, and of course it varies. There are some that are free, there are some that are $50,000. So lots to choose from. There's over 260 that you can choose from actually. Some require you to relocate and some don't. Lots of options. So those academic requirements are going to make you think, and only you know yourself best. Can I get a 3.0 overall GPA? Can I get a B or better in those science classes? And that will help you choose. So this slide highlights again those post-baccalaureate, meaning you finish your bachelor's degree, what do? BS in Nutrition and Health graduates can go right into the workforce, or they may go on to graduate school if they want. So there's a ton of different employment settings for a degree in nutrition and health. And the grad school that those students may choose from is to get an MPH, a master's in public health. To get an MBA, they may want to own a business that's nutrition focused. And so they go and get an MBA. They could go to nursing school, PT school, and those kind of things. The BS in Dietetics, as I mentioned, they go on to a supervised practice, usually combined with a master's. But again, there are standalone internships in case for those people who already have a master's. But there's actually one additional option available to graduates of the BS in Dietetics. You are immediately eligible to take the NDTR exam. Now, NDTR stands for Nutrition and Dietetics Technician Registered. It is a medical credential. Often NDTRs work under the supervision of a dietitian, But some NDTRs work by themselves as a director of a food service organization or a food service operation within a hospital. So they can be self-standing in some positions. But you don't have to do any supervised practice, no graduate degree. So graduates with the BSc in dietetics can immediately take that NDTR exam and carry that credential. So let's focus in on what are the steps to earn that RDN credential. And there's 3 things you have to have. The Ascend is the accrediting body. It is who oversees the program and makes sure our program here at K-State is Ascend accredited, and it makes sure that our program is covering everything it needs to for you to become a dietitian. So the Ascend accredited coursework, you must do that Ascend accredited supervised practice, and then you must have that master's degree. And those 3 things together give you eligibility to sit for that RDN national exam, credentialing exam. That's when you become a registered dietitian nutritionist. Now you may ask, why is it RDN? Because it used to be just RD. Those 2 things are interchangeable. Each professional can decide whether to use RD by itself or RDN. RDN is kind of the more modern way, but either works. I want to remind you that what gets a little confusing is these 3 things can be packaged in a variety of ways. So I'm going to go on the next slide and talk about what those packages look like. But also I want you to think about that the master's can be in any field. I mean, technically it could be in music. I don't know there'd be a lot of people that would choose that route. But let's say you already had a master's in music and you're coming back to become a dietitian. Technically, the master's would count as that requirement. Within about the next 10 years, that is going to change to where the master's will have to be in particular fields. But that's a long ways away, so we won't worry about that. So let me talk about how these 3 parts, the Ascend accredited coursework, the Ascend accredited supervised practice, and the master's, how those can be packaged together. Now, this may look way overwhelming, but let me just explain to you how this works. So the gray boxes on the far left column outline the eligibility requirements that I just talked about. And so then what you'll see on the rows across from those gray boxes are how they are packaged within each of these packages I'm going to talk about. I do want to mention that the tan color, the row at the bottom, the tan, those are what I call some constraints. And I'll talk through those as we go through each example. It'll probably make sense once I go through the first couple and you'll see how this table works. So package 1, and you'll notice it's the things in purple are things you do here at K-State. So here's our BS in dietetics. And for the student coming in who does not have a bachelor's degree, this is how one of the ways it can work. So you get your BS in dietetics and you'll see it has your bachelor's degree criteria and your coursework criteria. And then you go on to what's called an MSDI, and that stands for a master's plus a dietetic internship together. That's that supervised practice. So really you have 2 steps. You come to K-State for your bachelor's degree, you go to a program external from K-State called an MSDI that gives you your master's degree and then gives you your Ascend accredited supervised practice. And there's no constraints. So that's one way to package those requirements together, and that student is now eligible to take the exam. Now let's look at package 2. They also get our BS in dietetics here at K-State, and then you'll notice K-State does have an MSDI. So you could stay at K-State and do both of these options. We'd love to have you do that. But you must live in Kansas for the year that the supervised practice takes place. So we have had students that live in Kansas City, Wichita, very close to Manhattan, and they will choose to go this route. This is a new program, actually. It's not really new. We've had a CP. We were the first coordinated program in the country, and we've modified that to become an MSDI because the master's requirement is new as of this year. So our first cohort of students in the MSDI were accepted just this last spring. So some of our online students that live close to Manhattan might choose this route. And we actually had one online student who lived in Florida who is moving here to do the MSDI here at K-State. So that's package 2. And you'll see that that packages your bachelor's, your Ascend coursework, your master's degree, and your supervised practice all in this neat little bundle. So let's look at package number 3. K-State does have something called the Accelerated BSMS. And you'll notice down in the constraints that the only people eligible for that are people who do not yet have a bachelor's. So this has to be your first bachelor's, and then you compare it with the master's, both here at K-State. And what happens is, and what makes it accelerated, is that 9 credit hours can count for both the master's and the bachelor's. So it saves you about a semester's worth of time. The people that do the accelerated BSMS can then go on to do a standalone Ascend accredited supervised practice. So hopefully you're starting to see how the table works. You just come across to see, okay, for package 3, how do these requirements get handled, or how are they covered? So if you have a previous bachelor's, you cannot do our accelerated BSMS. Package 4 is you get your bachelor's degree with us. You can stay and get your master's. Both of those are available in the online format. And then you can go apply to a standalone dietetic internship. Package 5 is very similar, but this is the package for somebody who already has a master's degree. They come here to get their BS in dietetics, which gives them a DPD verification statement, we call it. And all these people, all of these BS in dietetics up here get that statement. That statement allows them then to apply to these external standalone dietetic internships. So you see how we're packaging the requirements. These last 2 have something called a GP. There is an Ascend accredited program type called the graduate program, and it packages, really in theory, all the things together in one program. So the farthest column, package 7, you could have any bachelor's degree, and then you could apply straight into a GP program, an Ascend accredited GP program, and become a dietitian. So that's one option. So when I mentioned that a student who gets our nutrition health degree could choose that route to go into a graduate program that is Ascend accredited. But we have a lot of students who choose some of the GPs require you to have that DPD verification statement. So they have to do our bachelor's first in order to get into those particular graduate programs. And again, this GP is an Ascend accredited GP. So the nice thing about you doing the BS in dietetics here at K-State is it allows you flexibility, because you can choose to go to a standalone dietetic internship, or you can choose to go into a GP program. Some students that only do the nutrition and health, knowing they're going to go into a graduate program, you must be very, very careful, because, and that's what this constraint is, you need to check this GP's prerequisite list to see if the classes that are required in the nutrition and health degree will fulfill the prerequisites for you to apply directly to this GP program. Now, this is the first year we've had to explain it like this. The nice thing is you have lots of options, and the terrible thing is you have lots of options. But that's where our advisors come in. They're great at answering questions, listening to your specific situation, and finding the package or the pathway that is best for you. Woo, that was a long slide, I know. Okay, so I've talked a lot about dietetics. What about nutrition health? I've mentioned nutrition health quite a bit. Again, there are lots of jobs available to people who are not a dietitian but want to focus on nutrition in their degree. Some of the students that choose this route, maybe it's because they find they just don't have what it takes to get the B or better in the sciences. That's okay. There is still a route you can go to find a career in nutrition. Or maybe you figure out that, yeah, I don't want to do grad school. I don't want to do a supervised practice. I want to just get my degree and get out into the workforce. So the nutrition health degree is a great option. And as I mentioned, a lot of students are using it as a pass-through because they want to go on to nursing school, physician assistant school, dental school, become an eye doctor, but they want to have a bachelor's degree that is in something that can really set them apart within those other professions like nursing. We do have some students that choose the nutrition health degree that go on to get a master's in public health. It's a perfect segue into the master's in public health. And here at K-State, we actually have a nutrition emphasis in our master's of public health. And then what about people that want to start their jobs right away? Where do they go? So they can be a public health nutritionist. They can work with community health departments, working on community health campaigns. We have cooperative extension agents. So Erie Land Grant University has an extension service that takes the research and knowledge from a university and gets it out to the state, people that live within that state. So K-State has a K-State Research and Extension, and a lot of our extension agents are not dietitians, but they want to have an emphasis area in nutrition, and so the nutrition and health degree is really good there too. Other places nutrition health go are working for the mass media, writing articles, or food-related industries, or even corporate wellness. So lots of things for that route. Now, if you're still going, I don't know, it sounds like dietitian's really the best thing for me, but I don't know, I'm still uncomfortable. So what I suggest you do is use some of these search engines that you see on the slide, and we can send you those so that you don't have to copy everything down. But you can go there and look for a nutrition job. And when you look at those jobs, see what the requirements are. And if all the ones that you really, really like require that RDN credential, then that answers your question about what direction to go. So now I'm going to take, before we take questions from you guys, hopefully you're typing those into the Q&A box, but there's ones that we get all the time. So I'm going to go over some answers to those. Can I do this entire degree online? Yes, you can. There is one class that we require, which is microbiology, that K-State does not offer it in the online format, but we have an agreement with Barton Community College that you can do it online through them, and we accept that class. Or you can even take it locally, as long as we find that it's equivalent to our microbiology class. Some people may have heard that there's a mid-curriculum, meaning the time you're here at K-State, there's a mid-curriculum application into dietetics, and the answer is yes, there is. So undergraduate students will apply to what we call the DPD, or Didactic Program in Dietetics, while enrolled in or after you have completed FNDH 400 Human Nutrition. That's a course that's required for the degree. And you must also at that time have a 3.0 overall GPA, which is including any college credit goes into that calculation of that GPA. We do that on purpose, this application process. We find that it is one of the things that makes our students very highly sought out to have those spots in the supervised practice programs. So I was leading into answering this question as I was talking, but why do we require that? Well, since you have to have a master's to be a dietitian, most graduate schools will require you to have a 3.0 overall GPA. And also, as I alluded to, we call it our match rate. So the students that graduate from our BS in Dietetics then apply to those dietetic internships or supervised practice programs. And our match rate has been consistently higher than the national average for quite some time. So most recently, our match rate was 97% and the national rate was 85%. So again, our students are well liked. And when you apply to those programs, they see K-State and they go, oh yeah, we're going to like that applicant. Some of you may say, but you know what? I'm coming back. I'm a career changer. And in my previous degree, I really didn't care. And so my GPA was really low. What am I going to do? Well, there is something you can do is you can go to a calculator like the one that I have on the slide, and you can calculate out what will it take to raise my GPA, my overall GPA to that 3.0 spot. So here's an example of how this calculator works. I don't have it interactive here. I just took some screenshots. But when you go to that link and go to that website, and I see the link I have at the top of the slide, you enter how many GPA hours or how many hours of credit you already have, and what the GPA is for that current amount of hours you've completed. And then you put your desired GPA, and then you hit calculate. This is an example of what would come out from these numbers I've entered. This student, to raise it to a 3.0, would need to get 30 credit hours of an A, 43 of an A minus, or 101 of a B plus. So it can kind of help you give some context of, is it possible in the 70 to 100 credit hours I'm going to have to do at K-State, is it possible for me to raise it to that 3.0? Now, just to give you some context, our BS in dietetics is 120 credit hours total. And of course, when you transfer in courses that will be deemed equivalent, that'll reduce that 120 hours. And here at K-State, we do not use pluses or minuses, but the calculator does. Here's another example I can show you. This student actually has a previous bachelor's degree. They had taken 130 credit hours at their previous school and earned a 2.4 GPA and wanted to raise it to a 3.0. And you'll see again that that student will have to get 78 credit hours at an A, 112 at an A minus, and so forth. So again, that calculator can help you say, will I be able to raise it up to that 3.0? Because again, you're going to have to go on to that grad school to get that master's. So summarizing up, we have 3 online degrees here at K-State. And remember that all three of them will lead you, in my opinion, make you eligible to say that you are a nutritionist, you are a nutrition expert, but only one of them is going to lead you to that RDN credential or that NDTR credential. So if you have other questions, this is an email you can use, and I'm going to pass the mic back over to Jennifer.
All right, thank you, Heidi. That's a lot of information, great information. We are open for questions. If you've got something that's on your mind, feel free to enter it in the Q&A box below. We will answer it live if we need to. In fact, I'll open up to the advisors. If you see any questions that we need to answer or talk about, we'll have you do that. You can come right on in and ask any of those particular questions that you see coming through the Q&A. This email address, and I will see if I can put that in the chat or have somebody put that in the chat. If you've got questions at any point in time after tonight, feel free to email us at online@ksdu.edu and we'll respond back to you and help you out and get you connected. Thank you for putting that in the chat box there. I know I've worked with some of the students. In fact, I've had about 2 or 3 call me this morning and we're talking, saying that they're going to attend the webinar tonight and had some really good questions at that point. So if you're on here, go ahead and ask the questions. This is your time to talk to Heidi, the director of the dietetics didactic program, the expert in our particular program, and you've got the wealth of knowledge from all of our academic advisors too. So feel free to ask them questions. This is the time.
Don't be shy. Probably everybody else in the group is thinking the same question.
I do have a question that I thought we should answer live. Can I take a class anytime I'm available? That one I'm not quite sure how to answer because I'm not exactly sure what this person is asking. If you mean, can I log on to the class at any time of day? Yes. We use Canvas as the learning platform. So the syllabus, lecture information, all of the information is there. Some of the classes do have chat sessions or Zooms, maybe once a week, a few times throughout the semester. Usually those are optional. If they're required, typically there is another option for those people who have a time conflict to still get those points. If you're asking, can I take one class, one semester, and then skip a semester and come back and take a class? You can, but if the degree requirements change during that time that you're not enrolled, if you take a fall or spring semester off, you could be subject to the new degree requirements versus the ones you were originally admitted on. So I hope that is answering the question. If not, please put some clarification in the Q&A.
I'm going to add to that just a small bit. We have had some students who need to go very, very part-time, and it might take them 8 years to get their bachelor's. And I'm not chuckling at that time. I'm saying, it is a long time. However, you can do that. The only dilemma is that the 2 clinical nutrition classes you will take, which will be in your last year that you'll be at K-State, the gap between finishing those and applying to supervised practice needs to be 3 years or less. So there is some planning you'll need to do, and that's where our advisors come in. So when you're admitted, you'll be assigned an advisor, and they will lay out a long-range plan and go through all those details, and then they'll eventually send you my way, and I'll help you figure out what is the best supervised practice, and so we'll help you through that till the end.
So there's a question from Desiree about what is the difference in classes between the nutrition and health and dietetics program. So both programs are 120 credit hours as far as that goes. And there is a lot of overlap between like the general ed courses and the professional courses as well. But the dietetics program does have a great deal of more specific courses within the curriculum than nutrition and health. So I can let the dietetics advisors expand on that if I'm missing something greatly, but just broadly, that's the difference. There's more elective space in the nutrition and health curriculum because to make up for those hours, right? Because the professional courses, there just aren't as many specific courses required. And that plays into the didactic or the Ascend coursework, right? Am I saying that correctly? Okay. So, yeah, so that's the reason that there are very specific courses that are in addition to what the nutrition and health curriculum has, even though the same amount of hours and coursework is required for the bachelor's program.
Dietetics requires more science and more professional classes than nutrition and health. But nutrition and health, because of those greater number of electives, allows for more minors that you could fit in. Or if you're trying to meet the requirements for professional school, you have the room to fit in those extra classes as electives.
Yep, and some will do a secondary major. There's a lot of options because of that elective space.
Right.
And we have had a few students who just really struggled to get the B or better in the sciences, and they were able to graduate with the nutrition and health degree that only required the C, and were able to be accepted by one of those Ascend accredited graduate programs. So there's still a pathway. For the time being, we are still in our BS in dietetics requiring a B or better, and I think that's what answers our very high match rate into supervised practice. But I just want to throw it out there that there is an option to do it through the nutrition health degree. You'll just have to be very careful and find out what GP you're trying to get into, or, it's a graduate program, and find out what their requirements are.
So we have another question related to grades. What if I just transferred from another community college and just finishing my associates now? Will I need to retake the science classes from my new community college to get the B? So yes, if you are pursuing dietetics, and if you've taken, say, chemistry 1 and biology and anatomy and physiology 1 and 2 that are equivalent to ours, and you earned a C or a D, yes, you would need to retake them either at another community college or online through K-State to get that B for dietetics. Remember, for nutrition and health, we would accept a C. Let's see. Another question. When would you need to decide between the 2 different programs? Are there a few classes you could take initially while deciding between the 2? So yes, you would need to pick one to begin with, and then communicate with your advisor, and we would make sure that you're taking classes that would count for either program, and then you could make the decision to switch. I'm not sure if Ashley would agree on which one is easier to start with. In my opinion, it's probably better to start with dietetics and then switch to nutrition and health. I don't know if you would agree with me, Ashley, or if you think it's better to start with nutrition and health and then switch to dietetics.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think if you're fairly certain that you'd like to go the dietetics route, that it's best to get connected with one of our dietetics advisors and start that way. And sometimes those classes, because of the way that the curricula are set up with the unrestricted electives in nutrition and health, if you go down the dietetics path and then you end up not pursuing that entirely, we can capture more of those credits than if you were to do it vice versa.
Mhm. Next question, could I apply for the MS with any bachelor's degree, or do I need to specifically have the BS in dietetics with the MS to become an RDN? So that would depend on which MS you're talking about. So if you wanted to become a dietitian and you wanted to pursue our MS and NDS in nutrition, dietetics, and sensory sciences, it would make more sense to have the BS in dietetics, because with the BS in dietetics, you're also earning that DPD verification statement. And then whatever master's you do, you would qualify for dietetic internships, you would qualify for GPs. But if you have a bachelor's degree already and you do not want to pursue the BS in dietetics, you could look at those GPs that would accept any bachelor's degree, but you'd have to be very careful to make sure that you meet all of their prerequisites. A lot of those GPs have prerequisites, chemistry, biology, anatomy and physiology, organic chemistry, biochemistry, basic nutrition, some other nutrition classes. There are a handful that have minimal prerequisites, but most of them do have a long list of prerequisites. So
The one thing that, sorry to
Go ahead.
interrupt, Carla.
Go ahead.
One thing that I want to make sure students understand is our MS, we call it NDSS. It's our Master's in Nutrition, Dietetics, and Sensory Science. It has the word dietetics in it, but it is not Ascend accredited. It is seen as a master's degree in the eyes of Ascend, but it doesn't include that Ascend accredited coursework or the Ascend accredited supervised practice. Although I said on that one slide that that K-State has an Ascend accredited MSDI. And that means we have taken that NDSS master's degree and we've added in the supervised practice. And so, yes, we have both those pieces, but in the supervised practice year, you would have to live in Kansas. That would be the limit. But you can't come here with a bachelor's in biology and get our master's in DSS and become a dietitian, because you're missing that supervised practice part and you're missing that Ascend accredited coursework. And that's where we've got great advising that they can look at you once you apply. We can work with you and help you find the best route to go forward. And we will do what's best for you. We'd love to have you all here, but if we have a student who we know, going to a GP would be better for you, we're going to send you there because we want what's best for you guys.
Another question is related to what you were just talking about. Wants to make sure that the master's through K-State is online, which yes, the MS and NDSS is available online. The MSDI is not considered to be a real distance internship program. Most of the coursework will be online, but the hands-on supervised practice, you have to be in Kansas because you would be placed in locations around Kansas and have to come back to campus on a regular basis to attend certain classes. And also, question for now, I can take the master's degree can be in any field. Yes, for now it's in any field.
So like, for example, we've had students getting our BS in dietetics who have a master's in engineering or who have a master's in aviation mechanics. That master's will count as far as eligibility to take the RDN exam, because again, it's that Ascend accredited coursework that's in our bachelor's degree that gets paired with the a syndicated supervised practice in a standalone internship. And then the master's the person already had, and that's what makes them eligible for that RDN exam.
Another question, for the grades, is it only, okay. I'm trying to paraphrase the question. So I think the question is, are the grade requirements only pertaining to when you are pursuing the bachelor's degree, or even when you're still at the associate's degree? So when you are pursuing an associate's degree, you will be transferring those credits to K-State. In order for those science and professional classes, say you take a basic nutrition class at your community college, if it's equivalent to hours, for dietetics, you have to have at least a B in it. For nutrition and health, you have to have at least a C in it. So yes, the grades are still important at the associate's degree because you are transferring those to K-State to apply to a K-State degree. I hope that answered that question. Okay, Jacob, I think we're ready for the question you said that you would answer.
Perfect. So Janet asked, if I'm doing a master's separate from the DI, would I complete the schooling before I move to the internship, or is that interchangeable? And that's really going to depend on the program that you're pursuing. So you can do the master's first and then an internship. If the internship requires that you have a master's degree, then that's going to be the route that you'll have to go. But from my understanding, there are some that you don't have to have a master's degree first. So it, in a way, can be interchangeable. But again, it depends on the programs. But something to consider would be some of the MSDI programs. Or let me take a step back. A lot of times the dietetic internships will come with an associated cost, and how you cover that the burden can be eased when paired with a master's degree, because then you have opportunities for financial aid that might not otherwise be provided if it was a standalone dietetic internship. If that didn't answer your question, or you have any follow-ups, please let us know.
And if you do want to do separate masters and a standalone internship, I think the recommendation would be to do the masters before the internship, so that the internship is closest to when you would take the RDN exam. Am I right on that, Heidi?
Yeah, because how it is now, to be in a SEND accredited supervised practice program. So when I say the words MSDI, that's one form of a SEND accredited supervised practice program. The other form is that graduate program I talked about. But in order to have an SEND accredited MSDI or GP, and we're really talking about the DI part of things. So in order to be a standalone dietetic internship, they have to have a pathway for you to get a master's. They can't just be out there by themselves. So they are all paired with a degree in some form. Most dietetic internships will either say you have to have your master's first before you apply to us, or they may say you must have at least 12 hours of a master's completed, which is about half of a master's degree, before you apply to us. Or they'll say you can come to our internship and you must do this particular master's. So each of those programs are different, and that's where your research comes in to look at those programs. And another of the reasons that we have such a high match rate is that from day one, when you're here at K-State, we're going to have you start working on that. And we're going to talk to you from day one about, okay, you need to be thinking about what that's going to look like. And here's the places to go look, and here's how to research them. And then we guide you to picking the ones that are best for you for when you're going to apply to that. So I have students who aren't going to apply to supervised practice for 2 or 3 years, but they're already looking at what programs they're interested in, so they can really be ready for when they apply to that.
Okay, next question. Could I get the MS degree even though I want to get a BS in nutrition and health? Yes, the MS in nutrition, dietetics, and sensory sciences is for anybody. It is not ASCEND accredited, so not everyone who finishes that master's degree goes on to become a dietitian. We have a lot of students who just have a bachelor's degree in any area and they want a master's in nutrition or a nutrition related master's. So they do the MS and NDSS. I'm sure Ashley has other students who do nutrition and health and then go on and get the MS and NDSS. If you don't already have a bachelor's degree, you can still do that as an accelerated option. So sharing 9 credits that are required for the undergraduate degree, you take for graduate credit, and then that reduces the number of hours you need for the master's. Now, the accelerated program, you do have to apply and be accepted. It's not automatic that just anybody can do that.
Yeah, and I'll just add that the GPA is slightly higher. The GPA is slightly higher than the grad school look for a 3.0, but the accelerated program would like to see a 3.25. So this is just something to keep in mind. It's best to plan ahead for that too. So if you are pretty sure that you're not going to need a break in between your bachelor's and master's, then the earlier that we could start to plan for that, the better off it'll be for all of your sequencing and just all the planning and applying and preparing. So, yeah.
Okay, next question. Does chemistry 1 and 2 at K-State have a lab component? And what do those online labs look like? Yes, those classes do have labs. You have to purchase a lab kit and then you do the lab at home. I don't know exactly what they look like because I haven't seen them. Other than you purchase the lab kit, you do those at home. I don't know if Ashley or Jacob has heard anything more about those.
No, I couldn't tell you what the contents of that kit, what that looks like, but it is. Am I frozen?
We can
I
still
hear
hear
you.
you.
Hear you.
Okay, you all are frozen, so that's usually my sign. I'm sorry about that. But yeah, typically, so like the whole class will still be done obviously virtually through virtual modules. So, but the kit itself is tangible. So I'm sorry that we can't tell you exactly what's in those kits, but yeah, the lab will be completely online with those components that you'll have on hand physically.
I can say that none of my students, and maybe you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, but have had any issues like blowing up a kitchen or anything. So it should be safe. But yeah, it is something that instead of just like a computer program, you will have something tangible and be able to create chemistry.
Right. All right, another question. Is the dietetics MS overall thesis based or does it depend on the MS specialty? So if you are referring to the K-State MS in NDSS, there are 3 options. There's the thesis option, the report option, and the coursework only option. However, the coursework only option still does have a final project and a presentation that you have to give. If you are referring to the MSDI, I believe that would still have the same options. Most online students choose the coursework only option and do the presentation because a thesis and the report options involve a lot more research. A lot more time is involved, but we do have some distance students who have done a thesis. It's really a matter of preference. You would have a major professor that you would work with, and you would decide together which option is best for you. If you are referring to other master's degrees, it would just depend on that institution. There's variety. I mean, there's so many different master's degrees out there that you can find a specialty that you're interested in. If you want to do a thesis, you should be able to find a program that would allow you to do that. If you don't want to do a thesis, that would be perfectly fine as well. And there are a lot of online master's degrees available all over the country as well.
The only thing I would say about that is if you have a dream of teaching at the collegiate level, most teaching positions at colleges require a PhD. And PhDs, it's easier to get into PhD programs if you've done a master's thesis, because they want to see that you were able to do research, because with a master's thesis, you design and do your own research. And they want to see that you were able to do that thesis at the master's level before they accept you as a doctoral student. Now, that said, there's coursework only masters, and there's also doctorates that are meant for practice doctorates. So when you hear about now physical therapy, you have to get a doctorate. Well, they go to an undergraduate degree and then they do the physical therapy doctorate, and it's really a practice. They're not doing the research doctoral dissertation thing. They're doing doctorate as far as the terminal degree to become a physical therapist. So really the choice of whether you want a thesis or not at the master's level is your long-term goal as to whether you're wanting to go on and become a professor in a university, or to do research, or if you're just getting that master's degree to be able to qualify to become a dietitian. That's how you can decide that.
All right, it kind of looks like that the questions have slowed down. Thank you, everybody, for answering those questions. Thank you for asking them. Like I said, this is your dream team. They're the ones that are able to help with all of your specific questions. But we're coming to the end of our time here. So if you still have burning questions, feel free to email them to online@ksu.edu, and we'll be able to help you out and get them directed to the right people to get answered. I think I'll have Heidi move on to the next slide, and this is like the next steps. So after this webinar, if you're convinced now more than ever that K-State is a place for you, we'll have you go ahead and apply. So this particular website, and I put the link in the chat as well, but it is got a link to all the directions and steps for how you can apply to our K-State program. And wanted to let you know of some upcoming deadlines. The summer semester classes start at the end of May, first part of June, and that deadline, the priority deadline, is April 1, which is not far away. So by that deadline, if we could get you to apply, pay the application fee, and have all your official transcripts sent directly to K-State from your previous institutions, that would be ideal to get that done by April 1 so that we've got time to review your application, and then you have time to do all the next steps before talking to your academic advisors, who then can help you figure out the classes, and then you have time to enroll and get everything done before classes start at the end of May. Hard deadline is May 1, but that doesn't give you a lot of time. So if we can get stuff in soon by April 1, that would be ideal. If you're looking to start in the fall semester, the ideal priority deadline would be June 1. Hard deadlines, August 1. Again, sooner is always better to try to get this in, but if you decide late on, we can take applications up until August 1. The fall semester is going to start August 19th. So if you think about that math, 19 days, some weekends in between, doesn't leave a lot of time to get all that legwork done. And then if you're looking for next spring, that priority deadline is November 1. So some of those dates to kind of keep in mind. We do have another webinar coming up. It's going to be talking about everything related to transferring courses to K-State. So that's April 18th at 8 p.m. It'll be set up similar to this. We'll be talking about the transfer process and can answer any questions that you might have at that point. And again, we'll have this recorded. We'll send it out to everybody that was registered and attended, and we will be able to help you answer any questions. But I think that kind of ends it for today. Again, that's our team. If you have questions, need to talk to any of these people, email us at online@ksu.edu, and we'll get you in touch. But other than that, we'll let you go for the evening. We certainly appreciate you being here and attending. Certainly appreciate all of the direction and advice that we've gotten from Heidi, Jacob, Carla, and Ashley. So I will bid everybody good night and have a great time, and we will hopefully see your application come through soon. All right, good night.